Assalamu alaikum students. I am Dr. Chaman Nasrullah, and today we are going to study brain. Learning objectives of today's lecture are: by the end of this lecture you will be able to describe the structures which are included in the brainstem and their function, and you will be able to describe the functions as well as composition of the reticular formation. You will be able to describe the structure and functions of cerebellum. Now, first of all, we will discuss what is brain stem. Here, there is a diagram. This is above and below. You can see a sagittal section of the brain. Here you can see brain stem with the midbrain, pons, and medulla. Brainstem basically includes three structures. One is the midbrain, other is pons, and the third one is medulla. These three structures they combine together to form the brainstem. Now, what is midbrain? Midbrain is the structure of the brainstem which is located around the cerebral aqueduct of Sylvius. This is cerebral aqueduct of Sylvius. It is located just beneath the cerebrum and above the pons, just above the pons. Midbrain is actually a relay station. It has various nuclei which act as a relay station for the information which is passing between the cerebrum and the lower parts of the brain. The other structure which is included in the brainstem is pons. Here you can see pons. Pons is located just in front of the cerebellum and just below the midbrain, and beneath the pons you can see the medulla oblongata. Pons, its peculiarity is that its gray matter is various nuclei. Gray matter is composed of the nuclei which are located in its center, and its white matter is on its surface. Pons is also a relay station for various sort of the ascending and descending tracts which are passing between the cerebrum and the lower parts of the brain and the spinal cord. Here you can see the two areas. These are two nuclei. One is the pneumotaxic area, other is the apneustic area. These are basically the parts of the respiratory center which are located in the pons. They work in coordination with the respiratory center which is located in the medulla oblongata. Now, the third part of the brainstem is medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata is located just beneath the pons, and below it is in continuation with the spinal cord. It has the two parts, anterior. It has the interior and the posterior part. The medulla oblongata also contains various nuclei as well as the centers for cardiovascular for the control of the cardiovascular activity, for the control of the respiratory activity, and there are various centers for the control of the vomiting, sneezing, coughing, etc. Here you can see the respiratory center which is located in the medulla oblongata. This respiratory center works in coordination with the respiratory center located in the pons. Basically, this respiratory center sends impulses to the phrenic nerve and intercostal nerve, which control the contraction of the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles. And that's why this center, in this way, this center controls the rate and depth of breathing. The other center which is not shown over here is the cardiovascular center which is located in the medulla oblongata. This cardiovascular center controls the rate and the force of the myocardial contraction, heart rate, as well as the force of the myocardial contraction. This area also controls the diameter of the vessels. The activation of the vasomotor center leads to the increased sympathetic discharge, which results in increased heart rate, increased force of the myocardial contraction, and vasoconstriction, and it results in the increased blood pressure. Basically, the cardiovascular center in the medulla oblongata receives the impulses from the baroreceptors. Baroreceptors are the receptors which are located in the in your at the site of the bifurcation of the common carotid artery as well as the aortic arch, and these receptors, they are sensitive to the pressure changes in the blood pressure. Whenever there are the fluctuations in the baseline blood pressure levels, these receptors, they send impulses to the cardiovascular center of the medulla oblongata, which in turn responds accordingly to control the blood pressure. This center is very important for the minute to minute control of the blood pressure. Apart from the cardiovascular and respiratory center, your centers for the vomiting reflex, the coughing reflex, the sneezing reflex, they are also located in the medulla oblongata. In medulla oblongata, there is also decussation of the sensory and the motor tracts. The decussation means crossing over. The descending tract, one of the most important descending tract, is the corticospinal tract, which is descending from the cerebral cortex to supply the skeletal muscles. When this corticospinal tract reaches the pyramids of the medulla oblongata, it crosses over. It means that this crossing over basically ensures that the right side of your body is controlled by the left side of the cerebral hemisphere, and the left side of your body is controlled by the right side of the cerebral hemisphere. There is also the decussation of the sensory tracts in the medulla oblongata. This decussation also of the sensory tracts also make sure that the right the signals from the right side of the body, they go to the left part of the cerebral hemisphere and vice versa. So this was all about the brainstem, the structures, three structures: midbrain, pons, and medulla, which are located in the brainstem, and their functions. We have discussed them. After the brainstem, our second learning objective was what is the reticular formation and its function. Reticular formation is basically, it is a group of the neurons which is located in the brainstem. And these neurons, they are located in the vicinity of the various ascending and descending tracts which are running in the brainstem. This reticular formation receives continuous inputs from these ascending and descending tracts. What are the functions of this reticular formation? It is responsible for the coordination of the skeletal muscle movements. It is also responsible for the coordination of the movements, coordination of the functions which are controlled by the autonomic nervous system, like various cardiovascular functions, respiratory functions, and gastrointestinal functions. Reticular activating system, reticular activating substance is a part of the reticular formation which is basically concerned with the awareness. This reticular activating system is responsible for blocking certain impulses which are going to the cerebrum. It is basically a gateway which allows certain impulses to be passed to the cerebrum while blocks others. The importance of this reticular activating substance is that it is concerned with the awareness. That is, if a baby cries, baby is lying alongside the mother and he cries, mother immediately wakes up, while the regular train of the noises, regular noise does not affect the mother at all. So it is about the reticular formation. You must be knowing the functions of this reticular formation. The third learning objective was what is cerebellum, the structure and the functions of the cerebellum. Here in this diagram you can see cerebellum. This is the cerebellum. Cerebellum is the part of the brain which is located in the posterior cranial fossa. Posterior cranial fossa. It is located just behind the pons. Cerebellum is composed of two hemispheres which are connected with each other by a thin strip known as the vermis. Cerebellum is is a very important part of the brain, and it has its gray matter located on the surface, whereas white matter, gray matter means nuclei located on the surface, and white matter or the tracks or the fibers, they are located inside it. Now, cerebellum has very important function in the control of the smooth, precise, and coordinated movements of the various parts of the body. Cerebellum is responsible for the smoothness of the movements, coordination of the movements, and the precision of the movements. If there is some abnormality in the cerebellum, the person is not able to perform any sort of the movement. He is not even able to pick up a thing, pick up a pen from the table. To any movement, all of the movements of the body, they don't remain smooth. They become uncoordinated and jerky. um, Cerebellum receives impulses from regarding the posture and balance of the body. The joints and the muscles, the proprioceptors, they are located in the joints and the muscles. They send impulses to the cerebellum regarding the posture, regarding the position of the various parts of the periphery of the body. Whereas visual inputs and the auditory inputs, they come from the eyes and the ear. Visual impulses, they come from the eyes, and the auditory impulses from the semicircular canals. They transmit the information regarding the position of the head with respect to the body. That is the information about the equilibrium and the balance to the cerebellum. Cerebellum receives all these impulses, that is the proprioceptive impulses from the joints and the muscles, and visual and auditory inputs. They are all transmitted to the cerebellum. They are interpreted within the cerebellum, and then cerebellum sends impulses to the skeletal muscles of the body for the control of the posture and balance of the body. Whenever there is a lesion of the cerebellum, the person is not able to maintain his balance or posture. He is unable to perform any activity because the skeletal muscles, the movements, they become uncoordinated, imprecise, jerky. And cerebellum is also involved in the learning process and the processing of the information as well. Whenever there is a lesion of the cerebellum, the person is having tremors, which are known as intention tremors. Intention tremors means when a person tries to perform a certain activity, the tremors, they appear. Otherwise, at rest, the tremors, they are not present. This is quite opposite to the tremors of the Parkinsonism, which are the resting tremors, that is the tremors which are present all the times. Whereas in cerebellum, tremors only are manifested when a person tries to attempt a certain task or tries to do a certain activity. Only then tremors appear. That's why they are known as intention tremors. They are the hallmark of the cerebellar lesion. So this was all about our today's lecture, in which we discussed about the brainstem, its various parts and their function, and we discussed the structure and the function of the reticular formation, and the structure of the cerebellum, and the functions of the cerebellum. Thank you.